It's finally time to import some fire ice from our neighboring gas giant, but first, we need to make sure crude oil continues to flow freely, because right now it is not flowing freely, and probably we need to do more with logistics slots, too, because we have a lot of those that we're doing nothing with. Hello, Legion, this is Hadrian. Thank you for being here. Let's play some more Dyson Sphere Program in our Alpha Andromedae series. So, first order of business, as I mentioned at the end of the previous episode, we have got to fix our oil issues. Now, I just did a little bit of a loop there because I thought I might not have oil extractors, but it turns out I do. So it's just a matter of flying around and finding maybe some of the best. You know what? We don't even have to fly around. We can use this. We don't have to fly around. Let's see if we can find the fastest. So there's a... Okay, I see two that are a very nice speed in this direction. A 2.9 and a 3.0. So we're going to start by tapping those. We'll probably have to tap 3, to be honest. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and tap this one as well. So let's see what we can do here. One of the advantages of tapping this one is that, well, first of all, let's replace these. One of the advantages of tapping this one is that this one will be linked right into the power network with no issues because it's amidst the solar panels here. So, oh, ironically, it's still not. It's not quite close enough. So I take back everything I've said. I was completely wrong. There we go. All right, so there's that one. I see the 2.9 there. So I'm going to go ahead and feed this oil out this direction. And start bringing it down to about here. We still have research going. Currently working on, additional construction drones? Very nice, and that's going to finish within a few moments, I believe. So I think hooking up these 3 new crude oil producers should do us for a good while, but I just want to make absolutely sure we're in good shape. So I've had some really good questions come up. I'll go ahead and talk about this while I'm getting this done, because there's not much else to do apart from setting up these oil lines. I've had a few people in the comments ask me, why do you always put splitters down? Is there a reason? Because you can always connect the lines directly. And if you recall the way I have my deuterium operation set up, I've got lines connected directly in my base, and that might not even be the only place. So it's not that I don't use that option to just connect lines directly, but there is a difference, and it's not just because I feel like splitters are aesthetically pleasing a lot of the time, which they are, like actually seeing the lines come together the way that you saw the water lines come together in the last episodes, for example. Like, I just enjoy that. It's that straightforward. Really? Okay, hang on. I don't have the iron ingots that I need to fully connect these. So, the main reason, apart from aesthetics, that I will so persistently put down splitters is that when you place a splitter in Dyson Sphere Program, even though it's not a powered structure, which is really cool that it just does this automatically without power, the splitter will actively combine the inputs from all directions and pull from them at equivalent rates. Whereas if you combine lines manually and just run the lines up against each other, the adjoining line will always have to wait for an opening before it can contribute to the main line, which means that if the main line is full, even if it's moving very, very quickly, if it's completely full, the adjoining line can never actually contribute. So what you end up with is an uneven distribution. Let me go ahead and make these real quick. I'll make a bunch of them. I don't care. What you end up with is an uneven distribution of your production of that resource. So let's say you have 3 different... Well, we could use the oil here, but the oil I don't think is quite as good of an example. Let's say that, I mean, it works, but let's talk about something just like iron or copper, just a more basic mineable resource. And imagine that you have it coming from 3 different directions. If you combined 2 lines onto one main line, then technically you have 2 lines that have to wait. But there's one main line that would theoretically be kind of driving the movement of the entire line, and as long as that one was completely full, the other 2 couldn't contribute until there was an opening, and they can barely contribute, but what that would do over time is that it would chew up the resources of the the main line's original mine, but the other 2 wouldn't actually deplete at the same rate. Splitters guarantee that you're pulling resources equally from all directions at all times, which I think is pretty cool. Anyway, let me not get too distracted talking about that. So as much as I've talked in this series about how I'm not taking a pure min-max approach, at least not yet in this series for the channel, because I've just come back from a long break and I'm enjoying the more casual approach. As much as I've said that, I do value being somewhat efficient with my various operations. All right, here's the 3.0. Now this one is close to existing power lines, which is nice. Oh, we have some logistics bots flying down. Wow, they flew in from far away. That was unexpected. What did you just bring me? I don't even know what they brought me. They're I think they really went out of their way to bring me that, whatever it was. Alright, tell you what, let's just... yeah, have you come straight out like that. So that's the main reason that I tend to use splitters as much as I do. I do like the aesthetics, but there is a practical reason as well. And I don't like the idea if I have 3 different sources, especially if they have a roughly equivalent amount of resources available. I don't like the idea of them being unequally depleted. Alright, so this is going to have to work a little differently than the way I've got it plugged up right now. Alright, and so now we have all of that oil coming in. Now we just need to find the existing lines. Hang on. Yeah, see, huge issue at the moment. Thankfully, it's not hurting us too much, but we really need to get more oil in here. So it looks like maybe the best solution for this would be... yeah, this line's going to have to come a good ways. There's also some additional crude oil seeps that I can hook up between here and there. So this is quite an operation that I'm setting up at the moment, but we're addressing a major shortage, so it's worth it. But that also speaks to the question of the splitters and the people that have been asking me about it. And they've asked very nicely. They're just curious what's going on. But that speaks to like another thing about Dyson Sphere Program, which I've talked to people about in the comments, which is that there's a certain aspect of games like this that does kind of value the perfectionistic approach. And so that can spill over into discussion of the game when you're watching someone play, or when you're playing it with someone else using the multiplayer mod, or just when you're talking about it with someone else who likes it. It's very easy to be a perfectionist in terms of what's the absolute most efficient way of doing things. And those conversations can be fun, but I think it's also important to remember that the game does not require you to use those methods at all. You can use more laid-back methods. You can build things in your own way, as long as it works and you're happy with it. That's what matters. And if you can understand the mechanics well enough to be able to help other people understand what's happening, then that's even better. And it's not necessarily that you need to do everything perfectly in order to be able to, explain things. You just need to be able to show people different perspectives and different ways of doing things so that they can grow their skill set overall. And I think everyone at various different levels of skill has something to contribute, especially if they have the ability to explain themselves in a decent way. Which is just interesting, because I think our tendency with online gaming in general tends to be more in the direction of, oh, okay, well, if you're playing a game online, you need to be a master at it. And I would very stridently disagree with that. I don't think that's actually true. I think it's a combination of some skill and then a combination of ability to explain and ability to connect with your audience. A lot of factors go into it. And that's not to say that I think that anyone in the comment section of this channel has been very perfectionistic with me. I just had someone ask me a very interesting question about it, and it got me thinking about how Dyson Sphere Program's specific approach to logistics and the way the way all of its mechanics are designed. You know, it sort of invites that perfectionism closer in because it's all about efficiency and logistics. And so there's an innate drive to think about things in the most efficient way possible and think about how to do things in the most efficient way possible and to push away things that are not maximally efficient. But we all have to learn somehow. So I look forward to learning those techniques, you know, for getting more efficient and getting better at this in various ways in the future. But I don't think that they're the be-all, end-all. And I think sometimes slipping into a mindset that's a little bit too close to that can be counterproductive. And in some ways might even be harmful. If it hurts either your enjoyment of the game or if people start to gatekeep about how things should be done. Again, hasn't happened on this channel. I'm just kind of waxing philosophical right now. If people start to gatekeep or talk about how things should be done versus how you're doing them, if you're contributing to the conversation in that way, then that's not helping anybody learn. That's just making people feel bad. Because we're playing a game, we're having a good time. So it is interesting because I haven't played a game that is this. I've played lots of strategy games on the channel, and strategy games have these elements, but I've never played anything that's quite this logistics focused on the channel in the past. All right, so we got those additional logistics bots. Let's take a look at the oil situation, make sure it's completely resolved. It does look like we are starting to build up oil again at a decent rate, excuse me. So that's good. Next order of business then. Let's go ahead and build, finally, some orbital collectors, shall we? So I'm going to need to build, looks like I need steel primarily. How are we doing on steel? Oh, good. We are building up steel after the work we did on that in previous episodes. That's good to see. So how much should I grab is the question. We're actually not building it up that rapidly. Looks like we're almost at capacity for steel. But what I can do right now is go ahead and just pull everything off this line here. There we go. Somebody told me in the comments that you can hold down control. Let me see if this works. Actually, that's not working for me. I'm not trying to call that commenter out, but I've got this selected. I'm holding control and it's not working. So obviously, or was it? It wasn't tab, was it? Or maybe it was another key. Hang on. Take products. Maybe it's this. There it is. It's not the control. It's the tilde. So that's really cool. You don't have to hold down. I think they just mentioned the wrong key. So yeah, it's the same button that you would use to pull products from a facility. You can select a belt and hold down the tilde key, or whatever you have the key set to in your interface. That's really quite nice. I appreciate the commenter for pointing that out because I did not know that was possible. All right, so let's go ahead and get some of these building. It looks like I do need to create some basic ingredients. Can I just, hang on, stop. I can just grab these, right? Yeah, rather than having to make them all. Let's just grab a handful of them. Right now I don't even have anything set up to bring these in, unfortunately, to my inventory, but we can work on that in the coming episodes because I haven't done a lot with my new logistics capacity, and I have a lot of that. I have a lot of logistics capacity. So much. Okay. Much better. See, now I can just build them directly. And now what I need to do is grab some of these. Now, grabbing some is going to cause power consumption to increase because we'll finally be producing stuff down here again, but that's okay. So now we'll build another one of these, and then we'll have to do a third stage where we build reinforced thrusters and then build accumulators. But I want to have probably a couple of these bringing in fire ice. And the reason we need to bring in fire ice, I've talked about this, is that we've been working for a while towards the ability to import rare resources from other worlds, which would allow us to make certain resources more easily and make them more readily available, rather than consuming 2 or 3 different types of resources to manufacture things like sulfuric acid or organic crystals, we can now just bring in a special resource that might not only ease up on some of our existing resource drain, but also it could, in fact, give us additional resources. And as I talked about earlier in the series, that is exactly the case with the advanced graphene recipe that we can get from Fire Ice. So not only do we no longer consume any energetic graphite to produce graphene, but we start to produce additional hydrogen, which is nuts. So we go from consuming a ton of energetic graphite to create our graphene to consuming absolutely none, and we have more hydrogen to boot. So 2 resources actually increase in their availability, and it actually becomes a bit of a problem, if you can believe it. Okay, so now we've got those 4 built. Oh wait, no we don't. We just need to build 3 more, and then we'll be done. So now it's just a matter of getting these thrusters built, which means I will need to... 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just grab a bunch of them. Nice. Solar cells last a little bit longer. How much energy? All right, we have about 400 megawatts in the solar cells right now. So that means now that they'll last a little longer, the amount of megawattage, the amount of wattage that we have in our Dyson Sphere, or our Dyson Swarm, will actually increase further because the sails will be able to stay in orbit longer before deteriorating. So that's awesome. All right, so these require... Looks like I need to grab some... This is quite normal for building these. Let's come over here and... Where do I have these being stored? Right here. Yeah, you can definitely see lots of steel building up here, so that's really encouraging. Alright, and now that I've got that, looks like I've got everything I need for the reinforced thrusters. I just need the full accumulators. Now, as I recall, in a previous episode, I had built the accumulators, but I haven't, I think because I was trying to solve the power issue, I haven't actually built energy exchangers. So this has just gotten sidetracked over the course of several episodes. But now we can bring this kind of back into focus a little bit. I don't really need to put these anywhere in particular, but I think I want to have them somewhat near my main base and towers because I could eventually be exporting from these. Not right now, but soon-ish I could be. Alright, so what I want to do here... Let's just... For now, because I don't have a more advanced apparatus set up. I will eventually, but for now I just want to get this taken care of. Let's connect you. Are you working? That's weird. I think because this thing is so close, it's getting a little bit confused. There we go. I don't know why that wasn't working a little bit more easily. That's the first time I've ever had that happen in DSP. No lie, first time. Okay, so now we're going to put these in here. And we will give the order to charge. And then, again, for now, let's just... do an output line. As a matter of fact, I will go ahead and make this a proper... now that I have this ability. Still getting used to being able to use it. Alright, so now it's going to charge these up. And how many do we need for each one? 20. So it's going to take a moment for these to charge up. I can have a couple of energy exchangers doing this. So basically these are taking our excess power and charging up the accumulators one by one. Yeah, I could totally set up another couple of these, so let's do that. Looks like every 10 spaces or so. Now this would be interesting because I don't actually have that many of these left in here, but setting these up this way. All right, we're gonna paste that recipe. And then we'll have these just to feed into what we were just talking about. In this case, I don't mind them doing this, so we'll just have them directly connect. They just need to combine. They don't output fast enough for that to be a concern for me. So now it's just a matter of doing this. Beautiful. All right, so now we've tripled the rate that those are being produced. We don't have any more in storage, which is a shame. But one thing we can do real quick. I can't actually select that line, believe it or not. All right, so I'll bring that. And now I'm just going to put some on this line specifically. Oh, actually, I have more. I didn't realize I had that many more. Never mind. I must have had more than one stack and not seen the second stack. That's handy. All right, so now we can absolutely grab these and build our first orbital collector. So we need to wait for those thrusters to build, which is not an issue. I don't mind waiting. We also need to get some supermagnetic rings, so while that is going on, let's go over to our newly built supermagnetic ring storage over here. Grab a couple of those. Didn't manage to do anything with the logistics bots this episode. Maybe I'll squeeze a little bit in at the very end, but that is something I'm going to focus on in the next little while, because I think that I've mentioned several times it's a newer feature. It hasn't really been something I've sunk my teeth into yet, but having the ability to have stuff brought to my inventory is really cool. And I have used it, but not nearly as much as I can, because I'm just on rails working towards interstellar travel, which is a good thing to be on rails toward, by the way. But I am conscious of the fact that there's a lot of benefit that I could gain. Let me go ahead and put those there, so I'm at least using some of the space that I have set up. Perfect. There we go. Yeah, see, that's a lot better. I think the main thing that I've had to get used to is the fact that you have to manually move stuff between your inventory in order to be able to actually use everything you have here. That throws me off, being completely honest. Okay, so the first... Oh, wait, hang on. Let me guess. Yeah, I've got to put these back in my inventory. The first orbital collector is almost ready. So let's go ahead and launch. Very important moment. Hello, Alpha Andromedae 1. Good to see you. So let's slow down, descend to the surface. And here we go. So now it's just a matter of finding the equator. Let's see. So I'm just watching the compass there. We are south of the equator at the moment. Closing in on it. And I believe that's... Nope. This next one. Right here. Yep. Alright, so we are almost ready to build the second one. So notice we are now collecting fire ice here and collecting hydrogen. And the rate at which this planet produces both of these, it produces fire ice at a pretty decent rate, hydrogen at a less amazing rate, but still, having additional hydrogen production is going to be pretty freaking useful. And yes, I can manually collect resources as well. So that's a nice thing to be aware of. So we're almost ready with this second one. But before I end the episode, I definitely want to have these importing. So I'm going to come over here and put down another orbital collector. It's going to take a moment for the thrusters required to build the final orbital collector to finish up. So let me head back over very quickly to Alpha Andromedae 2. I think we briefly orbited, or went down to the surface of that at one point past in the series, but it's been a while because we've had other stuff going on. Let's take a look at our oil situation. Oh, that's interesting. So I might need to go ahead and dump some of the stored oil. Yeah, I need to. We're going to reverse this line so that everything can kind of come fully back online. It might just be that what I've got set up for production is finally consuming everything that it can. Or maybe it's reached a point where I can keep this path flipped a little bit more reliably. Hasn't been the case in recent episodes. But anyway, very important moment. Let us use this last slot to begin importing fire ice. I'm going to set that to remote demand. It's not going to start coming in right away, but the fire ice can be fed to a new set of chemical labs, which will produce graphene much more straightforwardly. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let me close that. I actually don't think that that's the best place to bring it. I think a better idea would be to build an interstellar... I have an interstellar logistics station right here. I have an interplanetary one right here, but I have an interstellar one. Why don't we just bring in... Yeah. This is going to be perfect. This shall be glorious. Nice. Remember, I think last episode or the one before that, I was excited about getting increased cargo stacking for sorters, so that will improve efficiency across the board because each sorter will grab more products from the line as it pulls. So that's really fantastic. All right, so now this guy... I'm going to go ahead and put 9 of those ships down. Can I build another one? Just one? Just one? Just one? Yes, I can. Perfect. That's what I want to do. Just the one. And here we are going to import some fire ice. And there we go. We instantly have 600 coming in. That was fast. It's faster than I was expecting. How are we doing on power? Totally fine. This tower is going to steal a little bit of extra power for a moment, but we're almost ready with our 10th. We really don't need 10 logistics vessels on this thing right now, but I'm just being a bit of a completionist / perfectionist. Just getting that taken care of. All right, so let me pop that down. Okay, and very importantly, we can now completely change the way that we produce energetic graphite. So I'm going to just copy paste this. Or not energetic graphite, but graphene. So right now graphene is outputting to this line. It's pulling from sulfuric acid, but we're not going to do that anymore. And we also don't need it to pull any more. See, this just changed the game with regard to our energetic graphite. All right, so this line right here is no longer even necessary. I'm just going to delete it. And we're probably going to need to use that to get fire ice over there. So let's take care of that, shall we? All right, so we want fire ice to be brought in. Tell you what. Rather than have it output from 2 different spots, which would just look kind of ugly and weird, I'm going to set this up. That's not quite right. Like so. All right, and now input, 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 and we just select the new recipe. Actually, we've had it for quite a while. It's hardly new. And then with this... Oh, this is fantastic. Best way to bring this over is probably... Yeah. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, can't quite... it's one space too close. Are you freaking kidding me? All right, watch this. Now it's going to go over. There we go. And then I really don't need it to go higher than that. I just want it to come over this direction, and then we will bring it down here. probably bring it down a level right there, as I can. And then it just needs to come all the way down. And it's going to replace the sulfuric acid line there. And then we just copy paste the recipe and we're good to go. And that's the 30-minute mark. So I'm going to stop this episode here, but notice that we still are building up a surplus of fire ice here in our new import station. So that's going to positively affect just about everything because we no longer have to have as much energetic graphite to keep things going. I will have to now start watching for things to back up. I haven't really done a lot with Storage Mark II yet, and you will see me start to use those starting right now, because this is the moment in Dyson Sphere Program's progress when, or I guess you could say the progress model of Dyson Sphere Program, where you start to have resources back up in large amounts, and you don't always know what to do with them right away because there's so much, so it's good to have just storages that are sucking up that excess and not keeping the lines frozen. So you're probably going to see some Storage Mark IIs going down in the next episode or two. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to follow along. If it's not your first time, or even your second, look for the join button to access unique emotes, badges, and other perks. New episodes are coming out every day at noon U.S. Eastern Time. Comments are always welcome. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.